Mic is on. Okay.
The meeting of the Committee on Strategic Planning and Budget of the Board of Directors will please come to order. Will the Secretary please call the roll?
Director Ferguson,
Present.
Director Fonz,
Present.
Director Herndon.
Present.
Director Jackson has asked to be excused this evening. Director Reza,
Here.
Director Seamson,
Present.
Director Vanoy,
Here.
Director Zomber,
Present.
and Chair O'Halloran.
Here.
We have a quorum.
The Chair will now ask the Secretary to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. The Chair invites any members of the audience who wish to participate to do so and asks that those who do not wish to participate please remain silent during the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This meeting is being conducted in person from the Central Services Building. In order to allow as much public access and participation as possible, this meeting is also being broadcast via the MPS YouTube stream, the link to which may be found on the MPS website on the broadcast page. Before we begin tonight's meeting, we have a short announcement regarding interpretation services for the Spanish-speaking members of our audience.
Buenas tardes y bienvenidos a la Junta de la Mesa Directiva de las Escuelas Públicas de Milwaukee. Si desea escuchar esta reunión en español, por favor llame al 312-626-6799 e introduzca el número de reunión 832-0725-4267 seguido por el símbolo de número. Luego, introduzca el código 883149, seguido por el símbolo de número. Nuevamente, para escuchar esta reunión en español, llame al 312-626-6799 e introduzca el número de reunión 832-0725-4267, seguido por el símbolo de número. Luego, introduzca el código 883149, seguido por el símbolo de número.
For our item of business tonight, we will hold a discussion and public hearing. If you wish to speak, please fill out a speaker slip and bring it to our secretary, Dr. Owen Moore. Virtual speakers are asked to remain on the platform until you are called upon. After speaking, virtual speakers may follow the rest of the meeting using the broadcast information previously mentioned. Speakers may only address the item for which they have registered. Questions from the public may not be answered during the public comment period. Following public comment, the committee will begin its discussion and no additional comments will be accepted. When you are called upon to speak, please state your name and spell your last name for the record. For the sake of fairness and to give everyone a chance to speak, the chair reserves the right to limit the length of time allowed to any one speaker. Written testimony will be accepted for transmittal to the board. Send this testimony to the Office of Board Governance, P.O. Box 2181, Milwaukee, Wisconsin 53201-2181, or fax to 414-475-8071, or email it to governance@milwaukee.k12.wi.us. Just as a reminder, Robert's Rules of Order dictates that all comments, questions, and requests should be directed to the chair of the committee, who will determine the most efficient way to address them. The board appreciates and encourages stakeholder input and assumes that members of the public will participate in a civil manner. Conduct that prevents the good order of the meeting will not be tolerated. Anyone who engages in behavior that persistently disrupts the meeting may be removed from the meeting. Anyone ejected from the meeting may continue to listen to the meeting or access the agenda items online. However, the individual will not be allowed to rejoin the meeting. Also, no one other than members of the board, designated staff, and those who have been invited to present or participate in items of business will be allowed on stage before, during, or after meetings of the board and its committees. Finally, for our listening audience, if you wish to access this evening's agenda items and attachments online, you may do so by visiting the meetings, agendas, and minutes page of the MPS website. Now let's begin. Madam Secretary, item 1.
Item 1 is informational overview and public hearing on the 2025-26 Superintendent's proposed budget. This is an informational item. No action will be taken at this meeting.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. We'll begin by having the superintendent give us an overview of the proposed budget, and then I will call for one round of questions by board members, and then we'll go to public comments. After the public comment period, this item will be back in committee where board members can make any comments or ask additional questions. Would the superintendent please present the budget?
Madam Chair, members, thank you for being here this evening and listening audience in person here. We are presenting today the FY26 budget proposal. I'm Superintendent Brenda Caselius. I'm here with Mr. Nick Sinram and our budget director, as well as Ms. Aicha Sava, who is also here, Chief Financial Officer. We will go through a quick budget presentation and then spend most of the time listening to your comments and the comments of our public, and giving some reasoning why we are making the proposal that we have today. I wanted to start with first sharing that this is what the budget used to look like to the public that we would release. And I think that that's pretty hard to digest. And this is what the summary looks like. And I want the public to know that the summary, I think, presents better information for them in a more digestible format. It presents highlights of the budget in a very clear format. I'm very proud of Ms. Sava and her team and Nick for putting this together. We are interested in feedback on this so it can be improved for next year. It's the first time that we've done it this way. So, and this is also available. So we do have the full, I don't know how many lines of budget there is, but 16,000 lines. If someone wants to geek out and get the full, every single line, you can get that too. And then coming will be a really nice dashboard for the public to be able to drill down to their school, be able to see the school investments as well. So we just continue to work to create transparency with our public and give them opportunity to engage with us in an honest and open way. I am very proud of this budget. It was a short time that I had to actually look at it and put things together, but we are centering students in this budget. We want to fill vacancies within our schools. We want to make sure that we are focusing on our EL learners. And we want to make sure that we are focusing on special education. And then you'll see investments also as I go through the presentation in facilities for our lead abatement, the resolution that you all passed. So we were really listening to our public and listening to the board members on what they saw as priorities, as well as what we saw in both the operational audit and some early indicators of what I had from the academic audit, which will be released in just a week or so. So I'm going to go ahead and go through the proposal. It has the 5 priorities for success, as we always put together in the proposal to remind people of the district's 5 priorities. And then, of course, the strategic plan that drives the mission, inform the plan. And this is just, I think that we are at a spot where we have to make systemic changes to ensure students, particularly our most vulnerable students, are at the center of every single decision that we make. And I think we take a big step forward with this budget. We know that our students are not scoring at the levels that we'd like them to in terms of their proficiencies. We know that attendance is an issue. We have to strengthen engagement with our family and our community, and there are other enhancements that we need to make around nutrition services and maintenance and other operational pieces, and safety and finance. So you'll see those also reflected within the budget. So we obviously continue to operate within a context of competing internal and external forces. We know that enrollment has been going down, and there's competition is a issue for us, and so we have to be the best. We have to be sure that we are competing and that we are offering high quality schools for our children and our families in every single neighborhood. We also have rigid state funding formulas and revenues. And so we don't have the opportunity to have a lot of revenue outside of thanking our residents here in Milwaukee who did pass a referendum that's making this not as difficult as it could have been had we not had that. So I'm very grateful to the residents of Milwaukee for passing that referendum prior to my coming. Also, significant inflation has impacted this budget. And then, of course, the challenges that we have with recruiting and retaining high-quality staff during what has been a national teacher shortage since the pandemic and really years before the pandemic as well. These financial constraints really do create a pretty large structural imbalance for us, where there's not a lot of investments that we can make this year, and we are facing probably anywhere from a $75 million to a $110 million deficit next year, where we're going to have to make that up. Despite this financial situation, it's important to just continue to put the dollars where they are needed the most to ensure the academic success and wellness of our students, and to make sure that it is a budget that will definitely be aligned so that we can do the work and support our teachers and support our school leaders to get the work done within their buildings. So our goal is to improve academic outcomes, to stabilize the district amid declining enrollment. We want to fill every single educator vacancy that we have, which means a summer full of interviews and going out and recruiting very aggressively to fill our classrooms, and want to fill them with licensed teachers. And so that's my goal, and it should be the goal of every single school leader that we have. And then we have to address our fiscal realities here in the district. And so that means we're going to have to constrain our belts. So as vacancies open within the district, across the district, we need to justify every single one of those vacancies because of the huge shortfall that we'll have next year. So I've already told my team that when a vacancy happens, we need to look at that vacancy and make sure that it's needed and that it's not better placed in a classroom or in the school building directly supporting students. In 2024, the percentage of fourth grade students in Milwaukee performed at or above on the national NAEP. I just want to remind people of where we're at in our current picture. 88% of our students are not proficient in mathematics. This is an alarming number, but what's even more alarming was that in 2022, 11% were proficient, and even in 2009, before the pandemic, 15% were proficient. That is just unacceptable, and we have to change. We have to move this needle because a child's success depends on their success in school and their ability to earn that diploma, be ready for college or career, and to go on in life. And it's unfortunately even worse for reading and literacy. 91% of our students are not reading at grade level. In 2022 and 2009, just 12% were reading at grade level. So this is not enough progress. It's certainly not fast enough since 2009, and we have a tremendous amount of work to do. It's very sobering data. It's even worse for our Black students. And so out of the 24 large urban districts across the nation, Milwaukee is dead last for our Black students. So people ask me, why did you come to Milwaukee? And I said, because one, I believe that we need to make a difference for our Black and brown students, our students who are living in conditions of poverty, and make sure that we're able to see a system that is prepared to make the hard changes to affect these outcomes for our children. Our enrollment trends are sobering. Back in 2020, we had nearly 75,000 students, and we now are currently at about 65,924 students. It's a very competitive environment. And also birth rates have gone down. So there are many things and many factors that are affecting our enrollment trends, And it's, that affects obviously our revenues that are coming into the district. And so it's really important. I don't have the numbers here, but also our special ed count continues to go up. And as everyone knows, it's more expensive to meet the needs of our students. It's the right thing to do to meet the needs of our students who have disabilities, but it does cost more money. It also costs more money. As you'll see, we put investments in here for our EL learners, 10 additional classroom teachers, because it is also costs more additional funding to help it support students with their language acquisition as well. So those are the right things to do, and you'll see in this budget that there's more money for special ed and for EL services because it's the right thing to do. Again, we have these continuing challenges. I just wanted to put this out here. We currently at our 143 classroom positions. This is because we have some positions that are right now waiting to be finalized, but the number is larger if you didn't have them in the waiting queue to go in. But a district this large, you can understand that there are sometimes hiring, you're going through application, you have someone who's said yes to the job, but then you're waiting on background checks and other things like that. So we have about 143 teaching positions open, which we will work furiously this summer to fill. 62 of those are in special ed, which is an incredible challenge. You'll see an investment in the program in Madison, which is preparing some special ed teachers for us. I believe it's 14 this year, and every year that we invest in that program. 134 paraprofessional vacancies across the district. Another challenge for us is attendance rates. If the students aren't sitting in the seat, it's hard to teach them, so we need our parents to help us out, and then we need to make sure that our classes are engaging and that we have supportive opportunities for students at school so that they want to come to school. And that we are following up in a really systemic way on students with poor attendance. And so I will commit to the community to working on our attendance for next year. And then our graduation rates have shown some increases to pre-pandemic levels. However, I don't think anyone would feel proud of a 68% graduation rate. And there's just a lot of work to be done as well there. And then this is a new piece of data that I got that was quite alarming, and it's even worse than this in the past 3 weeks. And so I'm asking for the community support, and we'll be putting some additional attention around safety and crisis management and supporting our families. And I hope to be able to work with the mayor and others around the community, because we have lost 21, and it's actually a much larger number because this was as of, I believe, May 5th data. We've lost 21 children to homicide or gun violence. This is just unacceptable. I've been telling my team that I'm having, we're spending all this attention on lead, and we should have a similar outcry about the violence that's happening within our communities, and that children are dying. And so you're going to see me talk a lot more about this and have a call to action to the community to lock up your guns and to make sure that kids don't have access to them, because this is what keeps me up at night. The district employs more than about 9,500 educators and staff to support educational services. And so we want to value our educators, we want to value our staff across the district, and the board agreed to a 2.95 increase, cost of living adjustment, so that we could stay competitive and fill those classrooms. We are supporting our ESL learners in that we've added 10 ESL teachers. I know that there was an error on the board book, unfortunately, that got a lot of people upset. We did not make changes to the ESL department on those 4 positions. There were 2 positions, though, in full transparency before I came, where those 2 teacher positions, they took other positions within the district. So we took those positions as savings, but those were not impacting the classroom directly. And we added these 10 ESL teacher positions, and that's an increased cost of about $1.2 million. And so I think that this shows and demonstrates our commitment to our students who need support services there. Of course, lead stabilization has been an ongoing challenge for us, and I feel like we're turning a corner there, which is wonderful. And we are investing in our facilities department, which has seen a huge disinvestment for many, many years. And so it's about a $16 million investment that we'll be using from our capital revenue plan trust. And we'll be using that funding to be able to pay for this additional work that we need to do with our lead action plan. And then on the operational audit, I just wanted to remind us, these are the things that are informing the budget and the decisions that I made. So that's why I'm sharing with you some of these facts and figures and findings. The operational audit findings, talked about our proficiency rate. They talked about the systemic failures to prioritize student outcomes. They talked about the enrollment declines and the teacher shortage, and about our students who are experiencing poverty. And then some other things within the culture and climate and accountability, and all of that are impacting the way that I decided to restructure to provide greater leadership and accountability as well, and to make sure that we have excellent fiscal management in the future. I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Mr. Sinram, who will give kind of more of a detail about the numbers within the budget, and then we'll take your questions at the end.
Thank you. Nick Sinram, MPS Budget Director. Would just like to start by thanking the hardworking and dedicated budget staff who made this budget possible, and especially their work on the new revitalized budget book. We want to be responsive to the concerns that we heard from the community about transparency and clarity, and I believe that we've done that. So thank you to all of the members of the budget team for all of the hard work that you've done making this budget possible. The FY26 proposed budget plans for 1.5 or over 1.5 billion of revenues and expenditure budgets, including more than 9,500 educators and staff supporting nearly 66,000 students. Here you see a visual representation of the district's revenues by budget fund. As you can see, the largest source is the school operations fund, but all of the other funds are important as well, including nutrition, grants, and debt, and Fund 46, the Long-Term Capital Improvement Trust. The district receives a variety of revenues that help support our educational services, including state and federal grants, local property taxes, gifts from generous donors in the business community, as well as community organizations and philanthropic partners. Revenues are recorded and tracked for each of the funds, and they're also allocated by state and federal governments per student to support their education, such as state equalization aid, per pupil state aid, federal title funding, state grants such as achievement gap reduction, and as well as a number of other smaller funds that help support our students. In 2024, the Milwaukee Board of School Directors asked the public to consider a referendum, and the public voted in support of our students, providing an additional $140 million in the first year, climbing to $252 million by the year 2027-28. Here you see a visual representation of the district's expenditures by category. As with any organization, salaries and benefits are our largest expenditure type. As Superintendent Casellia stated earlier, the district is in a challenging financial environment and continues to operate in that environment for the foreseeable future. In order to correct our financial imbalance, decisive action will be needed on the part of the Milwaukee Board of School Directors, the administration, and all of our families and community. Over the next 2 years, the district must increase revenues and reduce costs, and the administration is studying options to reduce the projected deficit and eliminate the practice of using a vacancy adjustment to anticipate and pre-budget those savings that come from vacancies. A proactive plan is required to consolidate schools, eliminate vacant positions, and create operational efficiencies. The plan will ensure that we can invest in core academic services and critical student supports. Superintendent Casellius came to the district looking to make positive improvements and transformative change. The FY 26, 25-26, school year 25-26 budget contains a number of investments that will work towards immediate transformative improvement that will prepare the district for success going forward. Some of these investments include working urgently to stabilize lead paint in its schools, or in our schools, requiring an increased facilities investment of about $16 million. The district is creating 8 academic superintendent positions to better support principals in schools for an increase of approximately $2.5 million. The district is also creating 4 managers of operations. These positions will support principals with finance, staffing, and logistical operational needs. All of these supports will allow principals to focus on academic success in their schools. Furthermore, the district plans to make a $13 million increase for budgeting pass-through to the private schools that we serve and the special needs scholarship program. The state's 2023 biannual budget increased the district's SNSP, special needs scholarship program obligation, and we must increase the budget in order to accommodate that. The 2025-26 proposed budget creates an Office of Families, Communities, and Partnerships. This will better support our families and create stronger partnerships with the local business community, MPS Foundation, collective bargaining units, and our families for the benefit of Milwaukee's children. We've also created a new Department of Legal and Labor Relations that will support our school leaders and allow the Office of Human Resources to focus on recruiting, training, retaining, and caring competent teachers in every classroom and support the staff to help our students succeed. Additional staff will support 16 new classrooms of special education seats for increasing the number of students with special needs, especially at our younger ages. A $3.25 million increase for inflationary increase for transportation contracts, and that provides all of the district's busing services to approximately 40,000 students per day. We're also anticipating a $3.5 million increase for the district's common school fund to purchase library materials. We're planning for an additional $2.8 million for the school operations fund that will enhance facilities work. This includes 20 additional building service helpers to ensure safe and welcoming school environments, holiday pay for tradespeople who in the past were not paid for MPS recognized holidays, a $2 million investment in the district's new Safe Schools Hub, and a $2 million increase for accounts for occupational therapist salaries and other special education practitioners that were higher than anticipated in prior budgets. Some additional investments include an increase of $1.4 million that will fund special education apprentice teachers. An increase of $1.2 million will add 10 additional ESL teachers to continue our support for students that speak languages other than English. An increase of $775,000 will support and implement state law requiring school resource officers in MPS schools. We also plan to provide $650,000 to pay for installing and improving salad bars at all of our high schools, as well as $400,000 to be used to start a surge remote learning for students utilizing resources for growth and excellence. Finally, a $350,000 investment will add 4 positions in the Office of Finance to increase capacity towards implementing the corrective action plan. Looking ahead, building foundational reading skills in students and intervening with at-risk students, Central Services Reorganization redirects resources to support classroom teaching and learning. We will increase professional development of school leaders, which will better support teachers and students. And we plan to mitigate lead paint hazards, and especially in our older buildings, and the district's new Safe Schools Hub will also help enhance safety. It's critical that to live up to the potential of the district, we must be strategic about using our limited resources in the most efficient and effective way to maximize educational opportunities for our students. The 2025-26 proposed budget aims for immediate strategic investment to implement transformative change towards improved academic outcomes, safe and welcoming schools, and efficient operations that will yield a culture that will make MPS an employer of choice. Finally, we have an overview of the budget timeline, including the release of the budget on June 2nd. Tonight's tonight's hearing as well as a hearing on the 12th to take public comment, and then meetings throughout the month with the ultimate adoption or consideration for adoption by the board on June 24th. Any questions or feedback is welcome, and we have our budget office district inbox or email inbox available if you'd like to provide comments.
Thank you. I was going to say, perhaps administration could back it up one so that it can go up on the screen for those who are listening. It's budget25@milwaukee.k12.wi.us. So
Thank
that
you.
inbox can receive your questions and comments. All right, thank you, administration. So I'm going to go, I'm actually going to do it in alphabetical order. I'm going to call on board members for our first round of questions, and then we'll go to the public for their testimony, questions, comments. We'll start with the virtual, and then we'll go to in-person. So without further ado, Director Ferguson, would you like to lead us off?
Sure. Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to also thank the superintendent and her staff for presenting this budget tonight. I especially thank the superintendent for providing the context from which you built this budget. It really helped us all to see that you get it when it comes to the steep challenges that we face in the district. One of the things that I think I've been very vocal about that you hit on tonight was the plight of Black and brown students in the district. Now, I saw some things in this proposal that you intend to do to benefit specifically those groups of people, but I'm really interested in hearing more about your thoughts on what you plan to do differently for Black and brown students to increase and enhance their academic outcomes, and then also what you intend to do to help get our students back in the classrooms and in the seats.
Administration, so I hear two questions kind of there.
Was I only supposed to ask one?
No, it's fine.
Madam Chair, Madam Chair, Director Ferguson, we are going to be releasing the academic audit very soon, and I've been waiting on that to work with the academic team and create some working groups with principals and our teachers around what we're specifically going to be doing regarding literacy, mathematics instruction. But I can tell you the number one move I've made so far, which I know has not been tremendously popular, is to ensure that we have a classroom teacher for every single one of those students who is licensed. I think that that's the number one thing we can do. I think we can also try to diversify our teaching core. There's a lot of research that shows that teachers who represent our students and their backgrounds, you see higher achievement. And so I think that that's one lever. There are multiple levers. I think a focus on literacy is another piece. We are partnering with Dr. Fuller and the mayor around the Milwaukee Commission and trying to really do an entire program around all of our Milwaukee children.
I'm going to
with
ask that
literacy.
the audience please minimize disruption so that we can actually hear what's being said. That's the first. Thanks.
I think that, it's going to take broad partnerships. I think you'll also see additional tutoring in the future and after hours support. And then there was a strategy that we used in Massachusetts when I was in Boston, and we used academies as well. So we used, when students were off during different times and periods, during whether it was for winter break or spring break, summer break, making sure that we're really using those times. I just haven't had time to design those programs, work with those programs, and then put the funding behind them, which is another strategy that you can use to be sure that students are getting the kind of additional supports that they need to succeed.
Thank you. You good? One, okay. If there's another follow-up, because then I'm just going to go around and then we'll go to. Okay, sounds good. Then we'll go to Director Fons, please, and then Herndon.
Thank you. Just a few comments and questions. I see that there's a $13 million increase for private schools. This is a state requirement? This is something that
Administration?
Nick Sinram, MPS Budget Director. That's correct. We, after looking back at our expenditure trends, realized we had under budgeted for some of our obligations as the local education agency to pass funding through to our private schools, and we budgeted accordingly.
What kind of services is that providing? What is that kind of, what does that kind of money go towards?
That would go towards, all educational services, and especially providing special education services.
I see
you,
we
Direct-
serve, sorry.
Follow-up, Director Fons?
I have a couple other,
Okay, we're just doing like one or two questions right now, and then we're going to go to public testimony, then we bring
and
it
just
back.
give me one more then.
Okay.
I see with the 2 new ESL positions, 10 new ESL positions, are you planning that those will be full-time positions, part-time positions? And in some of my experiences in buildings, when they're 0.2 or 0.5 or whatever, I think they're sometimes less effective. Full-time positions, I think, would be preferable. So just wondering what the plan for that was.
Director Fons, Madam Chair, Brenda Casellia, Superintendent. Those positions will follow the support minutes and services that the students are determined to need. And so I don't have a plan for each of those particular positions. I know that we have part-time positions, but it is a goal of mine. I know what you're talking about in terms of dilemma of getting teachers who are 0.8 or 0.5. I think our centralized budgeting is going to really help with that in the future, because we'll be able to know exactly what minutes a student in special ed is going to need, what kind of supports we're going to need for our bilingual learners, ESL learners, and then we'll be able to push those out from the district to the school and make sure that they have them. Sometimes that will mean that we will just make that position whole, because it makes sense to make it whole, because it's an equity issue. So those are the types of ways that we can create greater equity across the district if we are able to make those more centralized decisions.
Thank you. Then I will go to Herndon and then Director Reza.
At the present time, I have a question about the expenditures for contract services. I don't have the dollar figure before me, but could you speak on how you allocate the contract services budget funding?
Administration?
Absolutely. Nick Sinram, Budget Director. Largely, our contracted services are kind of split into a couple different buckets. There are decisions made at the school level for smaller purchases based on their individual school needs. The larger portion of our budgets are purchase services are budgeted through our central offices, with the most significant being for busing, utilities, healthcare costs. So they're largely assessed needs based off of our centrally funded school supports with input from principals, chiefs, department leaders, and mostly focused around kind of 2 different types of spending buckets. So first would be providing critical services such as busing at an economy of scale that lets the district achieve stronger negotiating strength and provide efficient operations. The second kind of bucket of purchase services such as temp agency teachers, substitutes, special education services such as like mental health supports, health care practitioners. That bucket is really funded for equity and to ensure that we are budgeting so that all of our students can have the services that they need, whether we're able to provide that in-house or need to purchase specialized services to help with their success.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And then I will go to Director Reza and then Director Vinoy after that. Director Reza?
Reza, then Simpson.
Oh,
Sorry.
just kidding. I'm sorry. It was crossed off the list. Director Reza, how about you just ask your question and we'll work out then who comes after you after that.
All right, thank you. I do want to address the concerns in regards to the visibility of the bilingual and ESL positions that were proposed into the MPS budget. There was a technical error that raised so many concerns to the community, the staff, and lots of parents. And luckily, it was clarified with Dr. Casillas, would thank you for addressing, that the bilingual and ESL teaching positions were never eliminated. It was a technical error in the budget book, which, appeared missing and miscalculated, which I'm glad that the new 10 new ESL classroom positions will be added to meet the students' need. In regards to this, my question is, can you clarify all the program and offices under the bilingual will stay, and the office under the bilingual will stay intact, since there are no updates available in the budget, and it's not really clear, so especially regarding the bilingual, since this was like a technical error. Can you explain?
Administration?
Yes, Director Halloran and Director Reza. I'm going to ask Dr. Mims Howell to come out and talk about how she's organized that new division.
Thank you.
Cheryl Halloran, members of the committee, Jennifer Mims Howell, Chief Academic Officer. To answer your question, Director Reza, I think you're asking about the programs that are under bilingual, under our bilingual multicultural office. So our bilingual multicultural office will now be named multicultural multilingual. Underneath that will be services for our bilingual students, our students who receive ESL services, our first students who receive First Nation services. We also have our ESL family engagement person who will be working closely with families. We also will have the language assessors, and they will be making sure that families receive the information they need for the home language survey, as well as making sure the students are placed in the correct levels for the language assessment. Our Title III programs or supports will be housed in finance, but continuing to work with our multicultural, multilingual program. And then finally, we will make sure that the services from our family engagement person, again, works closely with the staff that are going to be working with the parent coordinators. Does that help? Okay, thanks.
All right.
And if I could just, sorry to interrupt, but if I could just add Nick Sidram, Budget Director, all of the positions were included in the official line items that the board is voting on. The error in the logic of our new reporting, the glitch in that error caused the positions to be placed elsewhere in the summary documents, but they are included in the full line items that the board will be voting on.
Thank you for that clarification. All right. Then apparently Director Seamson is next alphabetically. Director Seamson.
Thank you so much. Yeah, so I had a question regarding, and I might be misreading this, but it looks like there are some positions for a Head Start coordinator and a Head Start program coordinator. I'm looking at page 12 of, I'm not sure which doc. Oh.
Okay.
She's ready in the audience to help out.
And while we're looking for the page, the question, what is?
Well, the
just-
question is, so we don't have a Head Start program, so I'm just wondering about those positions.
Yeah, I
Thank
can
you,
answer that.
Administration.
Thank you, Nick Sidram, Budget Director. So those positions will be conducting early childhood support services and will be continuing similar work that was under the Head Start program. Despite the loss of that grant, the positions still have the same object class in our financial system, and so that they will be continue to providing early childhood services, though.
Okay, maybe we should rename those so there is a little more clarity around that. And then just if kind of a follow-up connected to that with the K-3 programming, there have been a lot of questions about the cuts in the K-3 programming and seats available. And I know we have like our traditional Montessori K-3 seats, but are there, just for the listening audience, because I know I've been asked this, are there additional seats for K-3 students outside of K-3 Montessori?
Administration? Don't all jump at once.
Chair O'Halloran, Director Simpson, members of the committee, Jennifer Mims Howe, Chief Academic Officer. So the seats that we had for our K-3 program last year will all remain in those schools. We had 5 classrooms that were at Grant Gordon. Those teachers will be offered positions in other schools because there were no enrollment for our Grant Gordon program. And if you remember, the Grant Gordon program was only for K-3. And so by allowing those seats to be put in the schools, it allows them to grow their enrollment as well. Students stay for K-3 can continue on in that school without having to make a transition.
Thank you so much.
All right, and now I'll go to Director Vanoy.
Thank you. All right, so my question, there's a lot of frazzled nerves right now and a lot of positions being changed and moved around. In the operational audit, there was the longstanding culture of fear and retaliation, reluctance to change. And I'm wondering how you're planning on addressing that moving forward with all of these positions changing and everything happening, so that we don't have the same situation.
Administration.
Director O'Halloran, Chair O'Halloran, and Director Vanoy. I think that, it starts at the top and, working and being present and making sure that you're available to your employees and making sure that they see that you value them and continue to talk to them about how you value them. One of the things in this change was that we decided that, with the short notice and also because it's the right thing to do, was that no one would lose their job. Nobody would lose pay, so they'd stay at the same salary. If you were a 200-day employee, you would stay at the 200-day. If you moved to a school, for instance, and you were 191-day employee. And we also know that seniority is very important to our union leaders and to our teachers. And so if you move to a classroom level position in the district, the most senior person will get the position. And here at the central office, what we did was if all things are equal and you have the same number of years experience, you have the same qualifications, you understand the job description and match the job description, the most senior person will get the job. And so we tried to honor that, and then we've held meetings with them. They have my number, and I've responded to emails and phone calls of people who had questions to make myself available, to know that they're respected and valued as best that I can. I want to acknowledge that change is hard, but I do also recognize that we are in a state right now in the district where we have to center students, and we have to center schools, and we have to, I'm hoping that more of our teachers will choose to go into the classroom, because I really believe that we have talented and experienced teachers here that would be able to go into classrooms. I've offered that they could go in pairs or go in teams into some of our schools, particularly those that are really challenging, and help us provide those types of supports to the students that are most vulnerable and need them. And so it's just continuing to lead by example and to demand that my chiefs and the team here at central office also lead by example in a caring and kind environment.
Thank you. You good? Okay. And then I will go to Director Zambor, please.
Thank you, Chair O'Halloran. I just want to thank the finance team for the new format. I think the interactive spreadsheet is great. I know there's going to be some learning curves for all of us as we get used to it, but I mean, it's just so nice to be able to do like the keyword search and filter through the departments and see things. It makes it more accessible, and you can actually find stuff so much faster than paging through a 900-page binder that's really heavy. So thank you for all of your work on that. It's very much appreciated. I know we'll start getting used to it. I guess I'll start with, I do want to ask a follow-up on the 10 ESL teachers. I'm just wondering why are those teachers budgeted to the newcomer center? Could
Administration?
administration just explain a little bit more about that?
Chair O'Halloran, Director Zom, board members of the committee, Jennifer Mims Howe. They're budgeted to the newcomer center simply because we have not assigned them to the schools that they will be supporting. So for instance, if there's a school that requires 0.8 because of the breakdown in the formula that we use, we're going to assign those in the fall. We have a list of what schools this year currently needed additional support, and we're over-enrolled for students who needed ESL services. So we're going to base it on the final count from the enrollment for the coming school year as we assign. So they're just there temporarily, so that they show in the district budget.
Okay, thank you.
Any follow-up?
No, I have one more, but I can wait if you want me to wait.
Okay. Why don't you wait?
Wait.
We'll go to how about we go to public testimony? So we'll start with the virtual speakers. I believe we have 3, hopefully, that are still on the platform. Madam Secretary, who is our first speaker?
And Madam Chair, just for clarification, do you want to add a question before we go
I
to?
can add mine at the end. We
Okay.
can go to
All
public
right.
testimony.
So our first speaker on the virtual platform is James Nelson. James, are you there? James Nelson, are you there?
Okay.
Okay, second speaker is Kelly Lempa. Kelly?
Going once.
Our third speaker is Cara Slingerland. Cara?
3 out of 3 sounds awfully, so maybe that's something we can look into, and maybe we can go to in-person testimony while we do some troubleshooting to make sure they're not waiting for us. Yes, so I have some speaker slips in front of me. We're going to start with David Powell, then Angela Harris, then Jamel Harris. So Mr. Powell. Oh, and we got a whole nother stack. Thank
Hi,
you.
David Powell, Powell.
Oh, okay. And then we'll just start the timer. Thank you.
I started forensics, been coaching and teaching forensics and debate in MPS since 1984. And I could fill a lot of stories about that, but I think the primary reason I came tonight is, I don't know if it's a rumor or what, that the academic teams, the extracurriculars are not part of the budget. I don't know if that's true or not, the budget proposal. But quite self-centeredly, I'm wondering if I am going to go out and buy my usual supplies over the summer and have my library meetings with my students. That would only make sense if there's a team next year. I'm retired from teaching full-time, but I coach forensics at Milwaukee High School of the Arts. And in the last few years, we've had several kids finish in the top 20 in the United States. And I had a moment just a couple weeks ago. I'm not going to give all these stories, but this one was the purpose. We had a forensics tournament at Brookfield East High School. We were the only Milwaukee team with 24 suburban schools, and we won the first place trophy for competitive speaking. One of my kids said you should brag about that. Well, I did, but I have many kids who tell me I would never miss school on a day that we have practices. If you're not familiar with forensics, it's competitive speaking, competitive oral reading. And not to jump here and there, but I remember many years ago when I was a full-time teacher at Vincent, I had access to a lot of the reading scores in the school, and the forensics and debate scores were up here compared to the rest of the school. So I guess to tie it all together, my primary question is Milwaukee Public Schools going to still have extracurricular activities next year? And is it worth my money to go out and start buying supplies in the summer so I'm ready for the kids in September?
Okay.
I could sit here for an hour and tell you what some of our former students are doing and a lot of stories.
And I think we would all welcome that. Unfortunately, we have a limited time for testimony, and
Okay.
at this point, you're over time, and I'm so sorry. But I think we would love to hear more about your fantastic students, and thank you for coaching, and congratulations
I'd
to your
probably be
team.
reaching for a yes or no answer if we'll still have extracurriculars next year, because we
Yeah.
would lose a lot of students to other districts.
Thank you. Okay, so next we have Angela Harris, then Jamel, then Harris, and then Lucas Weir.
Can I take just a small personal privilege to say to the superintendent, thank you so much for bringing up the gun violence issue this year. Mako lost a K4 baby to gun violence, and so I really appreciate it. It is an issue that is really close to my heart as well. Angela Harris, Harris. Good evening, members of the board. I stand before you tonight as an NPS parent, educator, and advocate committed to equity in our public schools. I want to express deep concern about the proposed centralization of school budgets. While I understand the intention may be to create consistency across the district, centralization often comes at the cost of equity. When financial decisions are moved further away from school communities, we risk silencing the voices closest to the needs of our students, especially those in schools serving historically marginalized populations. Equity isn't about equal distribution, it's about fair distribution based on the unique needs of each school. A centralized model assumes all schools are starting from the same place, when in reality, they are not. Some schools are still catching up from decades of underinvestment. Limiting the ability of school leaders to make timely, localized financial decisions only deepens those inequities. But we must also name this. Just because someone was a strong classroom teacher doesn't mean they've been adequately prepared to handle the financial and operational responsibilities of leading a school. That's not a critique, it's a call to action. If equity is truly our North Star, we must invest in leadership development, provide our school administrators with robust ongoing training in budgeting, strategic resource allocation, and operational systems. Don't default to control as a response to uneven outcomes. Build capacity. Equity demands that we equip our leaders, not undermine them. Centralization creates red tape. It delays student support, it removes agency from school communities, and worst of all, it can institutionalize inequity by making reactive decisions instead of proactive, context-informed ones. Let's build a better path. Let's center equity not just in our outcomes, but in our processes. Trust our school leaders, train them, and ensure every student, regardless of zip code, has a school equipped to respond to their full humanity and full potential. And while I got 18 seconds left, because I thought I was going to be out of time, I just want to say really quick, I hope that moving forward, we focus ESL learning not just on students that speak Spanish. Right now, I have students in my classroom that represent 8 different languages, and they also need support. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And then we'll have Jamel Harris, Lucas Weir, and then Ingrid Walker-Henry.
Jamel Harris, Harris, District 4. I'm here tonight as a parent. Don't take pictures of me, man. Please, don't take pictures of me. I don't want to be a part of your propaganda. Excuse me.
Please stop.
Don't take
Please,
pictures of me.
can you please stop taking pictures so he can just give his testimony? Thank you.
I don't want to be a part of your show.
Please continue your testimony.
I'm asking you nicely. That's going to be the last time. We've been through this before. I'm not part of your propaganda machine. I'm here tonight as a parent, registered NPS volunteer, and citizen. It was brought to my attention the superintendent wants to pull school budgets back into central office. This will be a bad idea, and I'm not sure how this is equity. I have done volunteer work in a few MPS schools over the years, and what I have personally experienced as a parent and volunteer can only be framed as inconsistent and unfair to the students. I have been a parent at McDowell Montessori for 14 years now. Our school has a plethora of opportunities for our kids. When I volunteered as a boys basketball coach at Dr. King Elementary, there was virtually nothing for those students in regards to extracurricular activities, clubs, sports, etc. Through my experience, I have learned these inconsistencies come from a lack of training, understanding, staffing issues, etc. That being said, what does the current training model look like for principals when it comes to handling budgets, disseminating information to staff, bringing in community, whether it's parents, community organizations, or other things like that? Because what I have seen at a school like Dr. King is nothing. A principal that has no skills, no drive, no want to do things like that. What I've experienced the last 14 years at McDowell is a principal that's more than capable, more than willing, and has all the drive needed to make those things happen for the students every day. It couldn't be more drastic, but it shouldn't be. This is a systems issue. This is a training issue. This is an incompetence issue, like our governor's audit has laid out. We have said this, numerous people in here, through our lived experiences, not opinions, that there are a lot of incapable people in this system, from this board all the way down to the cleaning staff in some of these buildings. My wife's classroom looks like these kids playing mud every day because it hasn't been swept or mopped all year long. That's the reality these students are facing, because she has a principal that's on his way out the door in retirement. So he checked out in September.
I appreciate that some of your time was eaten up by
Don't take the
whole
budget back to the
conversation, but please land the
district.
plane.
The schools need to make decisions for themselves. Big projects, painting, furnaces, things of that nature, you guys should make those decisions. But the school community should decide what clubs, what buses come
Thank
to
you,
those
Mr.
schools for
Harris.
those
I'll now
events.
call
Lead
Mr.
it to the
Lucas
schools.
Weir.
Thank you.
And then Ingrid Walker-Henry, and then Nicolo Honorado, and then David Eppelsheimer.
Lucas Weir, W-I-E-R-E-R. Good evening, Superintendent Caselius, Chair O'Halloran, members of the committee. I'm here as an MPS teacher of 17 years. My wife is a parent in the district, and I have 2 MPS children. I speak in all those capacities tonight. On page 3031 of the 25-26 proposed budget summary, under the heading Vacancy Adjustment, it states that the district currently has approximately 391 school vacancies, including 143 classroom teaching positions, which includes 62 in special education, predominantly in the harder to fill early childhood and comprehensive units. Additionally, 1/3 of the classroom teaching vacancies are at the harder to fill secondary level. Page 2 states we are restructuring central services and enhancing our recruitment to address teacher vacancies. While those vacancies reflect national hiring trends, we can and must take action to be sure every school has the high-quality teachers it needs. While of course this is true in a sense, it's a generalization that can be harmful when used as an excuse. There are plenty of schools within our district that have no problem filling vacancies because they are desirable schools that have sought-after positions. At the high school level, our most attractive schools, generally speaking, are or have been a part of the district's select criteria enrollment system. This system uses a combination of points determined by student test scores, attendance rates, and written essays or auditions to ensure students have what it takes to be successful in their specialty program. But what does that say about the students that do not meet the criteria and the schools that serve them? Dr. Rua Benjamin, sociologist and professor of African American Studies at Princeton, has written, "The mission of gifted education is to maximize the potential of gifted and talented students by providing programs and services that match the unique characteristics and needs of those students. So then is the mission of standard education to minimize or hold at bay the potential of most students. Of course, not all of our select schools are gifted and talented per se, but I think some questions hold for select and non-select. A public school system that tracks students into separate schools is problematic on its own, but our select schools are less likely to serve Black students, families who are socioeconomically disadvantaged, those who have special needs, and English learners. 2 years ago, I transitioned after 15 years serving as a teacher in fully public, non-select high schools to now working at one of our district's select criteria schools. And the differences are stark. We are not perfect at Riverside, but the gap in opportunities offered and available, AMP, athletics, advanced academics, clubs, just to name a few, is considerable. A difference of kind, not degree. There needs to be a targeted plan to fill these harder to fill vacancies that goes beyond, with all due respect, working furiously this summer, and cannot include shifting essential teaching staff from CO, many of whom already work directly with our students. We need a concrete plan with a proven track record of success to hire for these harder to fill vacancies.
Thank you, Mr.
Or
Weir.
better yet, we should
You
seek
can email
transformative
us
solutions
anything
to eliminate
that you didn't get to
discriminatory
say.
policies that
Next, I'm going to
reinforce
call Ingrid Walker
staying
Henry, please, and
an
then Nicolo
unacceptable status quo.
Honorado, and then David Eppelsheimer. Thanks.
Good evening. Ingrid Walker Henry, President of the MTEA, representing 5,700 members in Milwaukee Public Schools. In the spring of 2020, MTEA put forth a meeting confer proposal that contained a restoration of funding that ensures all students in high schools and traditional middle schools receive a full range of extracurricular activities that allow for all students, regardless of their zip code, to have the opportunity to engage in a well-rounded public education. This issue has been of so much importance to students and members that MTEA has made the same proposal every single year for 4 years. In the spring of 2024, the previous administration agreed to the proposal and to work with MTEA on implementation. The interim administration called one meeting in September of 2024 to discuss extracurricular activities for students. After that, there was nothing. In the spring of 2025, MTEA detailed the previous agreement and the expectation that extracurricular access be part of the 2025-2026 school budget as previously agreed to. Superintendent Caselius has communicated that she will abandon the administration's agreement to a standard of care, a measure of equality of extracurricular activities for students, and will not include any budget toward extracurricular programming in her 2025-26 budget. Providing students with opportunities is something everyone believes in. Students want to come to school when they have meaningful extracurriculars that capture their interest and expand their minds. After 4 years of proposals by MTA members, we finally had an agreement, only to be told this year by the current administration they were going back on that agreement and that students had to wait. Students have already waited long enough. It's time for MPS to do what's right. It is time to put funding into the budget that is designated for student extracurricular activities. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Nicolo Honorado.
Nicolo Honorato, O-N-O-R-A-T-O. I am the proud MTEA public education advocate, a teacher, and a parent. I have been a middle school and high school teacher in the district for the last 15 years, and I'm asking the board to put funds towards the proposed budget to guarantee a full slate of extracurricular offerings for all of our high school and traditional middle school students. All of our students in public education, in public schools, deserve equitable access to extracurricular activities that enrich their educational, social, and physical and personal growth. Access to the variety of extracurricular activities ensure that all students, regardless of their zip code, have the opportunity to engage in a well-rounded public education. We're here today to advocate for dedicating funds, fair staffing, and strong policies that remove systemic barriers and guarantee all students have the opportunity to participate in extracurricular activities. I've made it through high school because of my participation in extracurricular activities. So when I became a teacher, I knew how important those opportunities would be for my students. Some of the extracurricular activities that I supported included school newspaper, media club, stage crew, Gay Straight Alliance, and Black Student Union. These clubs have given students opportunities to use their voice, build community, find joy in school. Some of my students struggled in school, some academically, some social emotionally, but these clubs and activities gave them a reason to come to school and stay in school until we met in the afternoon. Extracurricular activities that are available in some of our bigger schools have not been available in schools across our city. Imagine if we had a competition drum line in every single one of our schools, or if they had newspaper and yearbook clubs to document all the great things that are happening in the buildings across the city. How would that change the culture and climate in our schools? A study at the National Center for the Educational Statistics found that students who participate in extracurricular activities tend to have better academic engagement, motivation, and achievement. Research shows that extracurricular participation is associated with higher GPAs, increased chances of graduation, and better SAT and ACT scores. Students have been asking for these opportunities for years, and if we want to have engaged students, we have to provide them opportunities to engage, to find things that inspire them, and it is our duty to provide the funding to facilitate that. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, it'll be David Epplesheimer, then Louis Clem, and then Vince Goldstein.
EPPELSHEIMER, Director O'Halloran, members of the board. I'm a longtime MTEA member and education worker at Groppe High School. And speaking as our high school's elected BR and as a teacher, I am unfortunately having to ask the board to amend the proposed budget and guarantee the funding necessary to ensure that robust and relevant extracurricular programming is available for all MPS students enrolled in high schools and traditional middle schools. I say that it's unfortunate because despite her stated pride in the budget, our current superintendent, Dr. Brenda Caselius, refused to submit a budget proposal that guarantees that all MPS traditional middle and high school students have access to robust extracurricular programming. Last year, MPS administration pledged to 5,700 members of our union during meet and confer that the students and families we serve would have guaranteed extracurriculars. Michael Harris and central office bosses have dragged their feet and refused to keep their word. They refused to implement a plan to make this promise a reality. Now this treachery is being rewarded by ditching the guarantee altogether. At least I can say that Dr. Caselius has been more transparent than Mr. Harris. Dr. Caselius has simply come out straight out and blown off the need to guarantee extracurriculars for all of MPS students and families. And as you can see, if you want to geek out and read the budget, she is for refusing to add the extracurricular guarantee to the proposed budget altogether. Our union members reiterated the fact that this agreement was not honored over the course of the past year during a meet and confer, and Dr. Caselius disregarded our input and ignored our students' needs. Apparently, guaranteeing extracurricular programming for students is simply not a promise that Dr. Caselius and this administration wants to keep to the public. That's why our union's members are forced to publicly demand a budget amendment that from this board so that MPS can deliver on a promise that MPS central office bosses had no intention on delivering on. The board now has the chance to correct this failure and step up for MPS students and families. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'll have Louis Clem, then Vince Goldstein, then Luz Hernandez.
Good evening. My name is Louis Clem, K-L-E-M-M. I am a proud MPS teacher at Washington High School. I'm a proud MTEA member. I am proud of the work that MTEA members do to make our schools the best that they can be. I am here tonight asking the board to put funds into this proposed budget to guarantee a full slate of extracurricular offerings for all high school and traditional middle school students. It's time we stop finding excuses to save money off the backs of the most underserved schools in our community and start finding ways to make a difference in the lives and school communities that have been ignored for far too long. All students in every public school deserve equitable access to extracurricular activities that enrich not only their education, but social, physical, and personal growth as well. Access to a variety of extracurricular activities, regardless of zip code, ensures all students get the opportunity to engage in a well-rounded public education and become well-rounded young adults. We are here today to advocate for dedicated funding, fair staffing, and strong policies to remove systemic barriers so that all students have an opportunity to participate in extracurricular activities, including, but not limited to, athletics, performing arts, music, art clubs, publications, student government, forensics, academic clubs, service groups, hobby clubs, and more. We live in a post-pandemic world, and students who lack extracurricular activities miss out on opportunities to develop social skills, explore interests and passions, and be a part of a school community outside of the classroom. If we dedicate funding and ensure equitable opportunities for all students to participate in extracurricular activities, students will be more socially connected, less isolated, have higher esteem, more team-working skills, more career readiness, and be equipped to be the leaders of the future. Our schools have been asked by central office to reduce dropout rates and raise attendance. Not providing extracurricular activity funding at higher levels across the district makes that harder for our schools to do. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Then Vince Goldstein, Luz Hernandez, and then Michelle Hilbert, not checked if wish to speak or do not wish to speak. Wish to speak. All right. First, we'll start with Mr. Goldstein.
Thank you. My name is Vincent Goldstein. I'm here as a teacher from Riverside High School, MTEA member, and also an MPS parent.
Can you spell your last name too?
I'm sorry, Goldstein. I'm asking the board here to fund extracurricular activities for all high school and traditional middle school students. Students in every school deserve to have access to extracurricular activities regardless of zip code. So we know that students at Reagan and at King are going to have that access, but we need the funding so that the students at every school have access to it. Students, they should have access to sports. Like for me, for example, I coach sports in the fall and in the spring. And if at my son's MPS school, they have activities for him to be in. If they didn't have it, then I wouldn't be able to coach. I wouldn't be there because I would have to go and pick up my kids. But students should have access to things, not just sports. As gentleman noted earlier, forensics, art, performing arts, music, government, debate, etc. And that time right after school, many parents are still, like myself, many parents are still working. Many parents are occupied. They have to do what they have to do to provide. So school gets out at 3:30, 4 o'clock maybe. But a lot of parents are still at work till 5:30. So not only do students need the academic and the structural background, the athletic background, but they also need places to go where they can participate in organized activities. This ask, what we're asking right here, is not like some of the other asks are more long-term, that we need a dedicated plan for, filling vacancies, etc. This ask is not that. All you have to do is prioritize it, put it in the budget, and it's done. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'll have Luz Hernandez, Michelle Hilbert, and then Alondra Garcia.
Good evening to all of you. I am Luz Hernandez, Hernandez, an MPS elementary bilingual teacher and proudly serving as the vice president of MTEA. So I am also a mother of former MPS students. My children graduated from Rufus King High School, where they received an excellent IB education and were given an ample selection of extracurriculars. Between them, they participated in the soccer, tennis, baseball, swim teams. My youngest son, Carlos, was the captain of the swim team his senior year, which helped nurture his leadership skills. Additionally, they were in art club, Latino student club, and debate team. Their experiences were fulfilling and enriching. They looked forward to attending school, not because of the math exam they spent the previous night studying for, but because of the sports practices and competitions they would be participating in with their teammates and friends. Had my sons attended Obama, Washington, or North Division, their high school experiences with extracurriculars would have been vastly different. because those smaller high schools just don't offer as many extracurriculars. That is not right. That is not acceptable. And so the adults in the room have to make those opportunities a possibility for our youth. I am asking the board to put funds into this proposed budget to guarantee a full slate of extracurricular offerings for all of our high school and traditional middle school students. All students in every public school deserve equitable access to extracurricular activities that enrich their education, social, physical, and personal growth. We are here today to advocate for dedicated funding, fair staffing, and strong policies that remove systemic barriers and guarantee all students have the opportunity to participate in extracurricular activities. Financial constraints purposefully created by nearly 2 decades of state lawmakers forcing through public education budgets below the rate of inflation have significantly reduced equitable opportunities for students to engage in extracurricular activities that would enrich their educational and personal development. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'll have Michelle Hilbert, and then Alondra Garcia, and then Sierra Brown.
Hi, my name is Michelle Hilbert.
Can I have a point of order, please?
Oh.
Point of order.
Yes, Director Fonz.
There seems to be a tactic of disrupting people when they're speaking, and I would like the chair to engage that disruption. It seems to be a specific tactic, and I'd like it to be addressed.
Thank you. Will do.
It's been a minute since I've been here in person with y'all, so hi. I'm all nervous. All right, my name is Michelle Hilbert, Hilbert. And I have to be honest, this isn't what I was planning on saying, but so much of the director's time, when it was your time to ask questions, was spent on these 10 EL educators. Now, I know they're important, as are the 4 at my school, but we are talking about $1.5 billion budget. And maybe this has to do with extracurriculars too, I don't know. So I kind of fear we're missing the forest for the acorn. I'm familiar with the 5 broad priorities of success, but does the district have a more specific strategic priority set guiding this budget, a document that is supposed to demonstrate both our values and our morals? Dr. Casilius said that the budget takes a big step in the right direction, and we can see some hopeful indicators. For example, the budget recognizes the import of the, the import of implementing recommendations of the state audit. However, how is the administration prioritizing and ensuring equitable outcomes with this budget? Will MPS also pursue an equity audit? The community has been asking about this for some time. How can we ensure equity, quote, if we don't have a clear and thorough analysis of where we are succeeding and where we must improve? I'm glad to see the increased supports for students learning English. It is still unclear to me if the bilingual department will stay intact and supported as well. I see a lot of staffing in this budget, but so many of the positions are confusing or vague, and they are definitely expensive. Can we get some more information about the scope of these positions? And what I really cannot understand is how centralizing the budget in 2026 will, again, quote, ensure equity. District administration has not yet repaired trust with the families and community members and the staff in regards to past newsworthy actions and events. How believable is it that central office administration will effectively micromanage the EL minutes of my students who I spent, the day with at the museum? It was a delight. How could administration micromanage those minutes for my students when we have these glaring inequities and missteps? I would laugh if it wasn't as dire as Dr. Casilius laid out at the beginning. To amplify Angela Harris, instead of tightening control, trust and train our school leaders, our school governance councils, to craft equitable school budgets that will drive student success. Thank you.
Thank you. And then we have Alondra Garcia, Sierra Brown, and then Angela Lucas Foley.
Alondra Garcia, Alondraga.
Yeah, I said that, okay. Good evening, everyone. I'm a second grade bilingual teacher at Allenfield Elementary and president of the Wisconsin Association for Bilingual Education, WIABE, which is the largest organization in the state of Wisconsin that serves educators of emerging bilingual and multilingual students. One of our primary objectives is to advocate for high-quality bilingual education programs. We recently noticed a number of areas that are of concern in the 2025-2026 Milwaukee Public Schools budget. We were recently made aware that there were several clerical errors in the published draft of the budget. In the current version, we are not able to discern where the positions for the Department of BMA are located. Given the vital work that is done by the Department of BMA, we are asking the Milwaukee Public School Board to do the following. Refer to our students using asset-based names such as English learners and multilingual learners, not ESL students. Ensure that the Department of BMA stays intact with all the current positions and budget allocations and continuing under the department. Properly allocate full funding to the Department of BMA on the published version of the budget. Provide a timely updated budget version that reflects the allotted funding for the Department of BMA and that all positions allocated to the department are clearly listed. The info presented today is not clear and has led the community with more questions. New division and restructuring was mentioned. What has been presented does not make it clear if the BMA will continue to be a department with a new name. The department will exist under what umbrella and what programs under it. We deserve to know what the BMA restructuring will look like. Don't vote on a budget that does not share transparency, accountability, inclusivity of all voices who should be part of this restructuring. The district must be transparent with the community it serves, and we remind the board of directors that these programs were created thanks to direct community engagement and advocacy over the last 50 years. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Next up is Sierra Brown, Angela Lucas Foley, then Maricela Aguilar Monroy. Okay.
Angie Lucas Foley, Lucasfoley. Superintendent Dr. Casilius, President Zombor, Chair O'Halloran. It's nice to be here this evening. It's been a while, and I'm glad to be back. Before I dig into the budget, I'm a proud educator, I'm a proud MPS parent, I'm a proud member of RWE, aspiring anti-racist white educators. Again, before I dig into the budget, I would want to remind board directors of their powers and duties with this budget. Board Governance Policy 2.03 states that the board approves sound, realistic budgets as developed and recommended by its administration and provides the financial resources necessary for executing its district policies. Board Governance Policy 3.02 under the role of the superintendent, Section 7 states that the superintendent shall not permit the board to be uninformed. Board Governance Rule 3.8, the role of Senior Director, Office of Accountability and Efficiency, shall be responsible under the direction of the board for bringing oversight and accountability to the financial operations, to evaluate fiscal performance and transparency, and to facilitate the improvement of the district processes. I bring these policies to your attention because I believe we are at a opportunity intersection and wanting to remind you of your powers and duties. Also, board governance vision and mission, last updated in 2021, states highest student growth, wanting the district to be highest student growth in the country, and that all schools will be safe, welcoming, and well-maintained. The biggest ask, and this is a repeat ask, we asked for this last year, we would like a district equity audit. This is in line with Administrative Policy 1.06, which was adopted in 2017, the equity in MPS. As NAEP results indicate, we are not and have not been doing our jobs. This is particularly true for Black and Brown students, which leads me to one important point, really wanting specific line items for who we're contracting with, names and agencies. Where is the line development for professional development? Dr. Cacilia stated literacy development is a priority. Where is the dedicated time? Memorandums of understanding passed by this board have gutted teacher workday, professional development time, leaving principals directed PD time and collaborative work time almost non-existent.
You can email the rest of your testimony to us. Your time
And
is
teacher-led
up.
after-school activities
Next
have
up
also
is
been
Sierra Brown,
impacted.
Marisela Aguilar Monroy,
activities
and then
is
Monica
keen-
Hubble.
Of keen interest tonight.
I appreciate
particularly for
everything that you're
NTA.
saying, and you can email it to us.
So thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Sierra Brown, did you actually want to speak, or was it just informational? Oh, okay. Sorry, you were actually before Ms. Lucas Foley, so it's all good.
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Sierra Brown, B-R-O-W-N. I'm here tonight as a community member and member of RWE. This is a really short budget cycle. It sounds like we have a little more than 2 weeks for our last public comment before the budget is voted on. The board has 2 opportunities to submit to the district for their revision. And I didn't really get a lot of new information from the presentation, unfortunately, from the district. I was able to skim the budget as it was posted, so I was able to read the summary, and unfortunately, the presentation tonight did not provide some of the meatier details that we're looking for to really understand this budget and to be able to make meaningful comment and have an impact on the decisions that are being made, because it takes a long time for the board to even respond to emails from the community, and we do not have a lot of turnaround time. We'd like to get more information ahead of time. So equity was mentioned once in the summary of all 3 documents or 4 documents. Equity was only mentioned once. The MSBD priorities were listed in the summary. Why is equity in the budget not a school board director priority? Why wasn't it listed by the district? Or, why aren't y'all championing the continued demands? I've only been here for a year, but you've been having this demand for an equity audit and having the budget represent equity in meaningful, tangible ways, make it come off the page, as has been said before. That needs to be a priority this year. No more waiting. What kind of equity training has central office staff completed that will ensure that school budgeting is done equitably? We are concerned about the centralized budget structure from the point of view that solutions need to be put in as many hands as possible. That I do hear the urgency is coming from the district. We do have urgent issues, but consolidating power and decision-making power does not feel like the right move right now. I think training and holding our leaders to a higher standard of accountability while supporting them and making the decisions and having those resources at their disposal is going to make more of an impact in classrooms. It's kind of confusing to criticize finance department for needing stronger oversight and then turn around and give them more budgets to oversee. There are 4 positions being created to relieve the principals from their duties, administrative duties. But who are those positions? What are the qualifications for who's filling those positions? And how is the public going to trust the people who will take those positions
You can email
for
all your
administrative
comments
operations
to us. Thank you.
assistance?
Either to governance or budget 25. Marisela Aguilar Monroy, and then Monica Hubble, and then Justin Balat, and then virtual testimony.
Hi, my name is Marisela Aguilar Monroy, Aguilar, space Monroy. I am the ESL teacher for the Newcomer Center at South Division High School, and I am here to express my extreme disappointment in the rollout of the proposed budget by the superintendent, particularly in relation to the multicultural, multilingual budget. It was really disheartening to see that the only line item with clerical errors was the one for our department. The superintendent is new, so perhaps she doesn't know that the bilingual, multilingual program here in the city is one of a kind and provides a broad spectrum of services and programs to meet a variety of needs. So I lived in Boston for some time, where the superintendent is from, and my roommates had horror stories about arriving in Boston from Brazil and being pushed into English-only schools with no supports. It was honestly heartbreaking to see and hear their stories. So the superintendent should know that that is not the case here, nor do we want that to be the case here. I know our superintendent is new, but I want to make it clear that bilingual, multilingual, newcomer programs and services are not an afterthought in this district. I invite the superintendent and her team to come visit the Newcomer Center at South Division so that she understands the structure better, and next time budgetary items are crafted, they are more clearly written. Because this time around, it was so confusing, I was worried we were all going to be moved out of our school placement and had to get clarification from the board. Multilingual students are one of the lifebloods of this district. We are not an afterthought. So we would really appreciate it if future budget line items and information are treated with the care, clarity, and importance they deserve. Just as a point of question, I don't understand why the ESL teachers are being budgeted under the Newcomer Center. Why can't they just be budgeted itinerant from central office like they have been before? I yield my time.
Thank you. All right. And then we'll have Monica Hubble, and then Justin Balat, and then they keep coming. Quentin Claiborne.
Okay, good evening, everyone, board members, superintendent, Chief Mims. I haven't been here since, Monica Hubble, H-U-B-B-E-L-L.
There we
Haven't
go.
been here since I came to advocate for Spanish immersion to not lose any funding. And I kind of feel like I don't necessarily need to say what I need to say because Chief Mims laid out that the bilingual department will not be losing money, and also that the language assessors and family partnership position will still be under them, I'm hoping. And that hoping if I do get hired back that I will be in that department. So thank you for all of that. And also thank you for all of the extra attention about the ESL teachers and the need for that. So thank you to everyone who's been on board with that. So 85 different countries, 85 distinct languages in MPS. The Lao Center within the Department of Bilingual Multicultural Education has enrolled over 15,000 students in the last 10 years that I have worked there. We have tested almost 10,000 of them and placed them in 21 bilingual program schools and 31 ESL program schools. I work in the Lao office where we enroll refugees, students from other countries, and students born in the U.S. What makes our department unique and why should it exist and have a budget? So that students can receive programming that will develop their brains to be multilingual speakers and thinkers, that they will be supported as many have trauma from leaving their countries and have been displaced, and some have been in refugee camps almost their entire lives, or have been in a detention center facility for months, or have traveled alone or with a sponsor. Their stories would amaze you. Besides enrolling in testing and curriculum development, our office advocates for the particular needs of our students. In 2018, when Hurricane Maria displaced Puerto Ricans, MPS enrolled 414 students. Our office specifically advocated that 30 of the 76 high schoolers would be placed in the current grade they were in when the island was destroyed. They would graduate on time. Our department kept track with the numbers so the DPI grants could be awarded to MPS to help with the influx of students. 2021, 96 Afghan refugees didn't even have all their paperwork, and we helped them navigate enrolling and made sure they had a soft landing at their new school. Congo, Tanzania, Zimbabwe, Haiti, Ukraine, Nicaragua, Venezuela, Guatemala, Mexico, Iraq, you can name any country. Our students come from all over, and our department makes sure staff gets trained, their curriculum supports their learning, that other departments know they can come to us for their needs. Our family advocate collaborated with our department to help make the safe haven for, and has applied, and our curriculum specialists have applied and oversee grants. One-way bilingual, two-way bilingual, immersion, ESL, world language, First Nations. Our department and programs are a showcase for the district. Please continue to support it and make sure it's around for our families.
Thank you. All right. Next up, Justin Balot. Lo siento. I don't know. You can correct me. Then Quentin Claybon, and then Elizabeth Kosmak.
Justin Belot, B-E-L-O-T, close.
I was like so off. Start his time again. Sorry.
I'm a proud MTA member and high school teacher at Barack Obama School of Career Technical Education. And I'm asking the board to put funds into this proposed budget to guarantee a full slate of extracurricular offerings for all of our high school and traditional middle school students. All students in every public school deserves equitable access to extracurricular activities that enrich their education, social, physical, and personal growth. Access to a variety of extracurricular activities ensures that all students, regardless of their zip code, have the opportunity to engage in well-rounded public education. I am here today to advocate for dedicated funding, fair staffing, and strong policies that removes systematic barriers and guarantee all students have the opportunity to participate in extracurricular activities, including athletics, performing arts, music and arts club, publications, student government, forensics, academic clubs, service groups, and hobby groups. Extracurriculars help students in their current lives and to shape their futures in so many ways. They help in their social and emotional development, give them something fun to look forward to and focus on. They can help build soft skills, they look great on resumes, and can help shape careers. They teach children to be collaborative and work in a team environment. They can provide leadership opportunities, help students with the time management skills they will need in their post-secondary lives, and can boost confidence of the students as they are provided with opportunities to excel in activities they may not have otherwise had access to. The previous administration made a promise to our students to work toward an equitable array of extracurriculars for high school and middle school students. And it's disappointing to find out that this proposed budget breaks that promise to our students, take away opportunities for some of our most vulnerable students that need these opportunities to have an equal chance at success. So I'm calling on the school board tonight to include an enriching, equitable, and robust extracurricular program for every student in Milwaukee Public Schools. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next, we'll have Quentin Claybon, Elizabeth Kosmak, and then Julie Hapeman.
Hi, Quentin Claybon, K-L-A-B-O-N. I'll email, but I hope to spur some conversation with 4 thoughts. First, you ought to share how much money DPI will withhold from MPS temporarily this summer due to late financial documents, even if students will not be affected. I also hope you share why MPS was not forthcoming to the public about your odds of hitting the deadline, why DPI was equally silent, and why you have not updated the corrective action plan since January. The lateness itself is not surprising, given how much you had to fix, but the opacity was unacceptable, and that affects the budget. I watch other big districts board meetings, and even they are criticizing you. So please build trust with Milwaukeeans and 420 other districts Wisconsin-wide. Second, I appreciate you being much more honest about MPS's financial position and clearer about how you will drive achievement. I hope board members can clarify a seeming contradiction. Superintendent Casales has talked about empowering principals so they can actually lead their schools. And that's great. That's what leading urban districts do, and MPS has done the opposite. However, as others have noted, you're centralizing budgeting, leaving principals with $5,000 in decentralized funds per student. How do those two ideas work together? Do you want them to have funding control so they can shape staff and services to students as they see fit, which this would restrict, or are you talking about freeing up their time or freeing up them from burdensome policy, as you said during the presentation? Either can work, but I hope you can explain how your budget empowers principals. Third, I urge you not to dismiss pushback, but also do not cower to it. That is the story of the last 30 years here. The dog collar gets shocked, and leaders stay within the same bad boundaries. Use your judgment. However, there's one thing I hope you rectify. Apologies if I'm wrong, do correct me, but it appears you are defunding the literacy coaches that are leading Act 20 letters training. That is the key reform that will raise reading growth in the district. If you defund them, you need to clearly explain how 1,000 teachers will complete letters training by September 1st, 2026. That is the law and not optional. Quoting DPI Literacy Director Barb Novak in April, I have not heard of one of the teacher trainings that would take more than a school year to complete. I can't really think of a reason why that would be necessary, so we're not looking at this being a requirement that would carry into another school year. Well, MPS is already taking 2 school years, and even that took board pressure, so it cannot be 3. Please explain how you would finish letters training without literacy coaches. Fourth, I hope this budget process has shown you all the atypical expenses in MPS. It's not the staff. Yes, teachers have the 8th highest pay in Wisconsin here, but MPS has among the highest teacher, administrator, and staff to student ratios in Wisconsin, and they bear a lot of work for that reason. One problem is contractors. I hope every contract that comes your way this school year justifies its cost and its effectiveness. If not, slash it. Too many people make money off MPS with nothing to show for it. One problem is underused buildings. Your budget has the in-school expenses for each building. Reagan is at $10,000 per student, Whittier $11,000, Pratt $14,000. Meanwhile, Westside's at $20,000, Keefe $19,000, Marshall $16,000. And then the last problem is remediation. So to repeat, thanks, appreciate it. Have a great one. I'll email.
Thanks. Elizabeth Kosmak, and then Julie Hapeman.
Hi, Elizabeth Kosmak, Kosmach. I wasn't going to speak tonight, but all I think is like, what are we doing? What are we doing with sitting with Howard Fuller, who put us in this place long time ago? He's the reason why MPS is in where we are with the privatizing. He caused that. And now we want to sit at the table with him and get ideas, take money from people who were anti-referendum. We just got $500,000 from MMAC. They were anti-referendum. It's discerning. Also, our principals are overwhelmed, and I don't think they're going to be able to be the academic leader for every grade band in every subject. That's why we have people in central office working with teachers. If I needed someone, I could email, but we let them go to be rehired, and no one believes that HR is going to be able to turn that around. It's not okay. I understand this is new, a new district, but come talk to the people, the teachers. Come to my school. I have 20 kids that have an IEP, just me. It's a lot, but I'm here, and I'm going to stay here. But we have a new leader who hasn't talked to the people on the front lines. You've just cut them on Teacher Appreciation Week. So please, relook at this. We should not be sitting down with Howard Fuller. That is very concerning. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. And then Julie Hapeman, and then I have heard that we may have been able to make connection with the virtual speakers, so.
Julie Hapeman, Hapeman. Good evening, members of the board and administration. I am also a person who was not planning to speak tonight. My name is Dr. Julie Hapeman, and I am a certified orientation and mobility specialist for students with visual impairments. As I have listened to the wonderful testimony regarding equity of services for students throughout the district, I wanted to take this opportunity to remind you that equity includes students with disabilities. These students are often left out or have limited participation in regular and extracurricular activities. They deserve the same opportunities as their peers. Please know that the teachers and educational support providers of these students have unique ideas on how to support their students and have contacts within the community who may be interested in assisting and including these valuable students within all areas of school activities. Please reach out to us while planning activities for the district. We are more than happy to talk to you.
Thank you. And so anybody who would like to conclude testimony, send us in written testimony, you can send it to governance or budget25@milwaukee.k12.wi.us. And now, Madam Secretary, do we have virtual speakers?
We had a couple of virtual speakers. James Nelson, are you on there now?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yay.
All right, thanks for having me back. I got dropped earlier. Are you ready?
Go ahead.
Okay, this is James Nelson, Nelsen. I am a proud teacher here in Milwaukee Public Schools. I teach at the high school level, and I implore you to put money back into the budget to restore a full slate of extracurricular activities in all of our high schools and traditional middle schools. As we all know, kids who are involved in school do better in school. It is a core part of academic achievement. A little history on this in the aftermath of Act 10. So now we're going back like 10 years ago. We lost all of our guarantees of extracurriculars. And so principals saw dollar signs. and they slashed everything they could slash. And so as a result of that, we have many high schools that don't have yearbooks, or if they have a yearbook, it's like a couple page kind of thing. We have many high schools that don't have student councils, that don't have EBIS, that don't have a link crew, or again, if they have these things, it's largely in name only. It was splash, splash, splash on the budget. And for the last 4 years, we have been proposing as the MTEA to the central administration to bring some of this back. And we've just been told all the time, yeah, okay, we're going to work on that. We'll get back to it. And it does not happen. Seriously, the proposal on the table that we have that nobody seems to want to read at central office would require a budget adjustment of less than 1%. For less than 1% of the budget, you get a full slate of extracurriculars in every high school and every traditional middle school. So please, before you approve this budget, please take a look at our suggestions. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next speaker is Kelly Lempa. Kelly? And then Cara Slingerland. Cara?
Okay.
Okay.
I know we can't have dead air, so
I think she
just-
did submit written comment too, so
Okay.
we have.
Oh, wait.
There,
There we go.
is this Cara?
Yes,
Go ahead.
thank you. Sarah Slingerland, Slingerland. Chair O'Halloran, members of the board and administration. The first bullet point on page 1 of the budget summary states the district will make literacy its central academic focus with particular emphasis on early literacy. It goes on to say we will also emphasize 6th grade literacy before pivoting to this sentence. To support these initiatives, we will enhance professional development for school leaders. I thought this must be a mistake until I read in the Journal Sentinel that Dr. Casellia stated that she was adding more leadership positions because the district is facing low proficiency scores in reading and math, among other things. We can't admin our way out of a literacy problem, and to suggest we can is short-sighted. It is similarly short-sighted to add 10 ELL teachers without strengthening Tier 1 literacy. To be clear, I am in support of more teachers for our ELL students, so this is a yes and situation. Adding teachers without supporting those who work directly with teachers to improve literacy instruction for all students, including Black students who this budget also overlooks, is plugging a hole without fixing the leak. This is not the systemic change the operational audit called for and that the public has been demanding. While adding 10 ELL teachers, which is a hard-to-staff area that has had at least one vacancy all year, will support students in 10 schools at most, students in schools without an ELL teacher won't have targeted scaffolding support. So who supports scaffolding Tier 1 literacy district-wide? Literacy coaches and teachers, of course. Dr. Casellius keeps emphasizing that the budget and accessing move supports early literacy, but it doesn't add any literacy support in the budget. This budget completely cuts out an early childhood curriculum specialist in which a highly qualified, effective, and universally loved reading specialist served. This budget also specifically cuts one early literacy coaching position and one literacy coach position. Not only is insufficient support given to our younger grades, but support for our neediest older students, including 6th graders, is spread way too thin. In all of this talk of restructuring, I haven't seen any mention of adding a dedicated grades 6 through 12 English language arts curriculum specialist, despite not having one my whole 10 years in the district and many high school materials being woefully outdated. Please put this accessing and short-sighted plan to a vote. What confidence do we have that this accessing move and restructuring will improve literacy? In the written testimony that I submitted, I included data that shows the direct impact literacy coaches have had on student success this year. Admin hasn't presented any data about our effectiveness or otherwise, but keeps suggesting that we coaches are the problem. Dr. Casellius was surprised that accessing us didn't fill more vacancies. That move didn't work because we know and can stand on the value we bring as coaches. This is our home, and if Dr. Casellius would have gotten to know us before inviting herself in, she would see the value too.
Thank you.
Also, why are we waiting until teachers are out of school?
Thank you. So we have your written testimony as well that we can review. Is the final speaker on the virtual
that-
platform?
Is he on there? No, that was the
Okay.
last speaker.
Thank you so much. Now I'll come back to committee. I'm just going to work my way down the platform. So Director Vanoy, do you have any follow-up questions at this time? I'm sorry to surprise you. I just figured it would be easiest to just go down the line. Do you have any questions or comments at this time? And it's okay if you don't. I'm not saying you have to. There's no judgment. I just wanted to give you the opportunity.
Can we just clarify about the extracurriculars?
Administration?
Yes, Director O'Halloran, Chair O'Halloran, Director Vanoy, Brenda Caselli, Superintendent. There are no cuts to co-curriculars. They are the way that they are because I just simply haven't had enough time to understand who has what in the high schools and middle schools. Remember, this is a budget that I had very limited time in order to make changes. So the investments that you see are investments that I heard students bring up, they're investments that I heard teachers bring up, and investments that I heard board members say were a priority or former resolutions that the board had. So it's trying to just really make very small tweaks because we weren't able to look at the full budget in order to make larger cuts. As a reminder, next year, we are facing $100 million cuts that we have to make to the district if there's no additional revenues from the state legislature. I'm hoping that isn't the case, but I do know that we are in a difficult structural position. But I want you to know, Director Vanoy and members, that co-curriculars, extracurricular activities are an absolute important factor of having students increase their attendance, also their feelings of belonging at school. It is a value of mine and one that I will fight for. I have known for fighting for even eliminating all fees for students so that they can have more equitable access to opportunities to co-curriculars and activities in schools. I hope to give it more attention. I just haven't had time to get underneath where the equity is across the district and what those programs would look like in each and every school for a full slate at each school.
Is it just a
Thank
follow-up?
you.
Oh,
Follow-up?
Follow-up. Is it just that we can't see it in this because they're in a school budget? Is that why we're not seeing it here?
School budgets went out before I came, and so schools have made the decisions about what co-curriculars to have and which co-curriculars not to have. I also don't know particularly, I haven't had a chance to sit with MKE Rec yet about the opportunities that they also provide to our students. So I'd like to have some time and be able to present that to the community next year. And as for a time frame and timeline, this was a condensed timeline. I realize that. But next year, I have shared with the board in our last working session that my intent is to have a much longer runway for public hearings, public comment, engage communities, engage principals, engage the schools in understanding the budget so much better and giving their feedback, and the board having many, many more opportunities in order to discuss the budget. And that will begin in October next year with budget assumptions, any kind of adjustments that we have to make, and then we'll start the FY27 process and align that to the new strategic process that the district will do based on the academic audits and the operational audits and the information that we are getting back from the state in terms of any new revenues.
Thank you. Next, Director Reza.
Visibility for the federal grants by the school site. The current proposed budget does not really include the summary of pages for all grants, like including Title 1, 2, and 3, unless I'm reading it incorrectly. When will these pages be added in the budget, unless I'm not seeing it? These are critical for understanding how the federal dollars are being distributed and which schools are most impacted, especially in the light of potential reductions. How are things at this moment?
Administration?
Chair O'Halloran and Director Reza, I'm going to have Budget Director Nick Senram give us an update on where those are at.
Thank you.
Nick Senram, MPS Budget Director. It is possible to find all grant funding is split out in our line item budget. That was the Excel file that was provided online, and we can help provide direction as to which specific projects or aspects of our account code to search for, and we would be happy to work with the board to provide that information in a more usable format.
Thank you. Any follow-up?
One is, you did mention a division, like a reconstruction for the bilingual. What is the reconstruction, for the bilingual going to be like? Is it gonna be more, detailed that we're gonna share for the community, for us to view?
Chair O'Halloran and Director Reza, after the academic audit comes, I think I mentioned this earlier as well, we will be able to have much more information about how we're organized, areas that we need to focus on, the equity within the district. I believe they will talk a little bit about that, not to negate that we don't need an equity audit. But I think that we will take that, we will develop our plans for literacy, we will develop our plans for bilingual office and set our strategic direction moving forward. I apologize that I haven't been here long enough to get underneath all of these things, but I do want to assure you and the public and our teachers that they will be part of this process. They will have transparency. They will be able to know exactly what our plans are in the future for both literacy and how we're going to do our service, our bilingual and our multilingual learners.
Thank you. And then Director Ferguson, I think is good for now. Just confirming. Okay. Director Zambor?
Thank you. Would administration be able to talk, one thing we haven't talked about tonight yet is around community schools, and I know there were some changes to funding or maybe a lack of funding for it. Can so the administration just talk about plans for community schools moving forward?
Administration?
Chair O'Halloran, President Zambor, there have been a lot of concerns about the community schools and their funding because in October of last year, we were notified that the funding would end with our partners at United Way. When I first got here, I'm a big community school champion, and I talked with union leadership about this as well. And community schools is a huge priority for me. You don't see it in the budget because I'm going to try to save the program so that the years of investment that we had in the community schools doesn't go away because the grant funding went away. So I went to the United Way and asked them if they would provide support in terms of their leadership coordinator who was participating. And so the United Way board met. They said that they would provide additional leadership support and help us to transition to a more sustainable model here at the schools. And so we will develop that model moving forward and work with our team here at district office. I don't know yet which positions those are going to be, but we're looking at school-based positions and stipending school-based positions to be able to support that work. Happy to be able to save this program, hoping that the state legislature will come through with more money or we'll be able to have time to find new grant funding for this endeavor, because it would just be a shame to lose the support of the program. And I'm very, very grateful and thankful to the board at United Way for continuing to step up so that we could have some time to transition and save this program.
Thank you. President Zambor, do you have follow-up questions?
I don't have a follow-up on that. I just have a different question.
Okay.
One other item. So I know we were doing the menstrual equity pilot at one of our high schools this year, and the goal was to have that done before this budget cycle to see if that's something that we could include. I know compared to a lot of the other things we're funding, it's not as big of a like financial investment as some of the other things, but could administration talk about if there's any way that can be included in this budget?
Administration.
Chair O'Halloran and Director Zambor, this is one of the areas I'm extremely proud of. This is one of the things that the students talked about, and it is an equity issue. And we will be providing menstrual dispensers in our bathrooms, in our unisex bathrooms as well, and then providing those products there as well. So that is an expenditure in the budget this year, and I'm very proud that we were able to do that. Students brought that to us, as well as it was a resolution.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for including that in the budget this year. Can do one more
One more, and then I'm going to keep it moving.
Okay. I do want to go back. I think there may be, and Ms. Mims Howell, maybe I misunderstood. And I don't want to go too far off of like reorganizing, but I feel like people might have misunderstood. So the language assessors are, while we have language assessors, is it accurate that they moved under the Family and Community Engagement Office, or are they staying under the multilingual? Sorry.
Administration.
Cheryl Halloran, President Zalmore, members of the committee, Jennifer Mims Howe. So while they will be housed under the family engagement, the connection with the bilingual multicultural department has to remain intact to know what services students are going to get. Many departments in the Office of Academics work in collaboration with each other, as well as working with offices outside. It doesn't always matter where people are placed. It's the supports that we're giving families. And so in one respect, we're trying to make it a one-stop shop for families. So as families come to enroll, they don't have to go to 3 different locations to stop at one location to register, one location for services, and one location to sign up for something else. We want to try to make it as equitable as possible and easy as possible for all families to get the same thing when they come in. And there'll be some cases where a family might show up in the family engagement office but needs some services from specialized services. And so we'll bring those services to the family versus sending them to another location. So with the language assessors as well, when families come to enroll in the district, they won't have to go from the place where they're enrolled down the hall, around the corner to somewhere else. They'll be right there for those families.
Okay.
Thank you.
Director Simpson.
Thank you. So first of all, I went a little too fast the first time. I did want to thank administration for including the MPS crisis response slide. I think it's so important, and you are absolutely right that we all paid a lot of attention for the lead, but we've let many other things kind of fall by the wayside for years. So thank you so much for focusing on that, and also for the revised presentation of the budget. It's a lot easier for us to kind of look at and get access to in a meaningful way. So thank you for those 2 things. I did have a question about investments in literacy. With adjustments being made and coaches and specialists, I'm just wondering how this budget or specific things in the budget that would reflect how we're investing in literacy for, I'm thinking primarily of early childhood, but we also had someone talk about the older students as well.
Administration.
Chair O'Halloran, Director Simpson, literacy will be incredibly important. I believe that there will be some additional funding that we will be getting from the governor's audits to be able to address issues in there that we were going to be using to redeploy some of these issues. I'm hoping also to build capacity at school levels is one other strategy. We will be taking a pre-K to grade 3 focus, as well as focusing on the 6th grade year to get the catch-up going by 8th grade. This is probably going to be over a couple of years that we're going to be making these investments to increase our literacy, but I'll let Dr. Mims Howe speak a little bit more to her plans.
Chair O'Halloran, Director Simpson, Jennifer Mims Howe, Chief Academic Officer. As Dr. Caselli has said, there's going to be a focus on literacy. Literacy for all is kind of what we're thinking we're going to call it. So we have the 6 literacy coaches, but please understand that those aren't the only people working on literacy for the students in Milwaukee Public School. We also have a biliteracy team that's working on making sure the students who have a language other than English are also supported, as well as our students with disabilities. So this is going to be a full approach. Those 6 literacy coaches aren't going to be, like I said, aren't going to be the only ones, but the people will be trained to support their work when they're out in schools. So when it comes to students with disabilities, we will make sure that IEP goals are also written around literacy. And as we look at what we're doing with our students who have languages other than English, we're going to make sure that they also are supported. As we look at from early childhood, we're going to make sure that focus is there, making sure that the teachers who need to be trained under Act 20 with our LETTERS program are trained. It has taken us a while just due to the professional development, but next year we put some things in place where we'll be adding some additional time for teachers to also take time with their training and then finally be supported. Again, those literacy coaches, the support teachers from special education, as well as our central office teachers who support languages will be working with those teachers to make sure that they can finish their letters training as well as get the additional supports in the classrooms that are needed. As for our middle school, we're looking at our focus is on sixth grade, but we also know how important it is for reading and writing to be combined for English language arts to happen for our middle schools. We look at this as a pivotal point to make sure that these students are ready for high school. We're going to be kind of doubling down on some of the trainings that we've been doing for our middle school teachers, because in some cases we feel like they've missed out on some things. Things around writing, making sure writing is connected to having those students write essays or write exams or applications to go into the high school. We also are thinking about how we're looking at reading, looking at the training that we've done for our early childhood and making it continue into our middle grade years. Again, with that combination, we will have our specialists working together to make sure that also our students who have language needs and students with disabilities also are supported that way. And then finally, looking at our high school, making sure that students in the high school areas are, one, able to write their resume, are able to write information that aligns to the classes that they are taking, as well as students who have to write papers for our college courses that we offer in Milwaukee Public Schools, and then finally for a college application. So we want to look at literacy again for all, making sure that all departments in the Office of Academics are supporting the work under literacy that our students need and the support can be given.
Thank you. So thank you for that. I look forward to hearing lots of updates at the SASE committee this year. And I won't ask another question, but, same is true for math, so I just would ask that we have regular updates at the SASE committee on both of those topics so that we can see during the course of the year where that work is going, things that we're considering and advancements that we're making. Thank you.
Thank you. Director Herndon, any further questions or comments?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, I have a question related to transportation. The reason being that we have a sizable amount each year, this is nothing new, that we expend for transportation for our students annually. Do you have any plans moving forward as we make budget adjustments to do any adjusting of any type with the transportation costs? Because it's around $65 million or so on an annual basis, as I understand it. Thank you.
Administration?
Chair O'Halloran, Director Herndon, anywhere we can try to find savings, we're going to be looking at those solutions. And so we will be working with our transportation department and all departments really to try to find efficiencies as best we can and how we route our students, how the students are tiered, special education services as well. So all of those are considerations as we think about any savings we can make to ensure that we're going to have a solid foundation next year and a balanced budget.
Thank you. Any follow-up? You're good? No. All right, Director Fons.
That was also one of my issues that I was going to address. Are we adjusting transportation costs in the positive and the negative? What is the balance sheet on transportation for this year?
Administration?
Director O'Halloran, Chair O'Halloran, Director Fons, Brenda Caselli, Superintendent. I'm going to have Nick Sinram speak to any of those specifics.
Nick Sinram, Budget Director. Yes, we are watching transportation carefully. It is a significant expense for the district. In this budget, we are planning for an approximately $3 million inflationary increase as we go out for RFP for new transportation contracts. And we are looking for opportunities, as the superintendent stated, to create operational efficiencies.
Thank you.
Yeah, Director Fons, sorry.
Nope, that's fine. And my other comment was anecdotal. Having just returned from the camping trip at Upland Woods for the second year in a row, salad bars are extremely popular with our students, believe it or not. Growing up in New Jersey, we always thought that was some sort of foreign import from California or something, but the students are lining up for salad bars. We had to hold many of them back, and it really was a big hit in both years. So not not something exotic from Oregon or California. I think Wisconsin, we're going to put down the cheese and we're going to embrace the salad bar.
All I'm saying is sometimes salad bars can have cheese, but we can discuss this later.
There was lots.
I was like, wow, okay, we're doing that. Administration, any response?
Well, it is
to this cheese
Wisconsin.
slander?
It is Wisconsin, so I don't know about the cheese. Chair O'Halloran and Director Fons, Brenda Cassellius, this is another point that I'm glad that was brought up. This is another issue that the students brought about food justice and having better organics, better opportunity for food. We have a food advisory that we have created now because we really want to bring in much more food, better food and more nutritious food, farm to school food, school food that is cooked from scratch within our schools is the goal. So it's going to take several years to get there, and this was a great way to start this fall. And I think our students are going to be really, really, really happy to have this option in our high schools and middle schools. Thank you.
Yep. Director Fons, do you have any other follow-ups? Okay. I'm going to just hold my questions, and before we adjourn, the chair will remind everyone that there will be additional discussions on the budget. This committee will meet again on June 12th and June 24th, where we will primarily consider budget amendments. Public comments will be accepted at these meetings. We will also hold a public hearing on the budget on June 17th. And at that meeting, just to clarify, there has been confusion in the past. I'm going off script, but that is just public testimony. So there will be no presentation. It's just the public testimony at the public hearing. And all these meetings can be conveniently found at Central Services Auditorium. They will begin at 5:30. More information will become available on the meetings, agendas, and minutes page of the MPS website. There being no further business before the committee tonight, this meeting is adjourned. I don't know if I have to do that.